Hey guys, welcome back. This is James again. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today I'm going to be discussing more of color theory and how to use the selective adjustment layer to enhance your photos and make them a little bit more meaningful when you're working with photos. Okay, and we're going to be using these three photos. This first one is kind of very clear. It has clear colors. This one, they're not so obvious, and finally again this one where there are some hidden details again. But I'm going to be explaining the color theory and the use of the selective adjustment layer to enhance your photos. And by the end of this, by the time I'm done with these three, you'll be able to understand how you can actually go and replicate these techniques and apply them to your photos. I'm going to make sure that I explain this as simplest as I can, and I hope you find value in this. So of course, the first thing we're going to do, let's first of all unlock this layer here, and we head over down here. We get the selective color adjustment layer. The good thing with adjustment layers is that if you don't like anything you've done, you can always do away with it. Okay, but now here we have this photo here, and we have our colors over here. Okay, so on the selective adjustment layer, we have the reds, we have the yellows, greens, cyans, blues, magentas, whites, neutrals, and blacks. And basically for all these colors, you have the channels here of cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and how you can tweak them to change the composition, the color composition in the image that you're having. For example, this one, when we begin with red, for example, what's going to happen is this this option here is going to make us, it's going to help us edit the obvious reds within this image, which means these ones here. And when you look in the sky, you'll see like it's a little bit warm. All right, so they're because there are red pixels in the RGB and CMYK, which means that R matches with C. So which means if you increase the cyans, you reduce the reds, and if you increase the reds, you reduce the cyans. Okay, so for example, this one, if you wanted to reduce the reds, okay, you will have to increase the cyan. Okay, so for example here, when you increase the cyan, if you look down over here and the general image, you'll find that the reds are being taken out, and if you take the cyans down, which means if you take them out, then the reds are being brought into the image. Now let's say, for example, you brought the reds down here, okay, but you want to decrease the greens within the reds, if you understand what that means. Okay, so if you want to increase the greens within the red, which means now you have to reduce the magenta, because RGB, okay, so green goes with magenta. So if you increase the greens, you reduce the magentas. So if you want to increase the greens, for example, in the red colors, okay, for whatever reason, which means you have to take out the magentas. Okay, so you can see what effect that does. And in color theory, once you join two colors together, you're going to get a result of a different color. Okay, and again, if you increase the reds like that, you'll see what that will do. Okay, so by you taking out the greens, you'll make the image kind of pop out more. Now again, the yellows, okay, the yellows are going to they're going to affect only the red channel. Okay, so they're not going to affect directly these yellow pixels, total yellow pixels, but they're going to be affecting the yellows within the red channels. So once you change around like that, you'll see that most of the changes will be made on the red pixels. If you bring them down, which means you'll increase the blue within the image, within the reds. Okay, so if you increase the blue within the reds, you're going to get this purplish color. And if you increase the yellows, which means you're going to take out the blues within the reds. Okay, and you're essentially going to have this kind of image. Now the black, okay, if you find, for example, the black is just going to enhance the reds within the shadows, or the darkest points, or the most red pixels. So it's the black will make, if you take it out, it will make, it will decrease the red pixels. Okay, and if you increase the black, it will make the red pixels more red, or redder, if that's what does it. Okay, the word doesn't, if that word exists. It will increase the red in the red pixels. Okay, and if you take the black, once you're in the red channel, if you take the blacks down, it will make the red pixels less red within the red channels. Okay, next we're going to move to the yellow. If you're in the cyan and you take the cyans out of the yellow pixels, which means that you'll be increasing the reds, which means you'll be making the yellow tones very warm. If you take out the reds, you're going to be cooling down the yellows. Okay, so again, the best thing is to strive and find a balance within. The magentas, magenta goes with green. So again, if you take out the magentas, you're going to increase the green within the yellow pixels. And if you increase the magentas, you're going to take out the greens. Okay, so if you take out the magenta red, you're going to increase the greens. If you increase the magenta, you're going to take out the greens. Okay, the yellow, okay, again, yellow goes with blue. Okay, so which means that if you take out the yellows, the yellow pixels are going to be to take on the blue. They're going to be overwritten by blue. Okay, but because of other colors that exist within those pixels, okay, the colors are going to morph together to produce different color variations. For example, here you will see that it's pink. Okay, and if you increase the yellows, again, it's going to take out all the blues, and you're going to produce a more vibrant yellow image. So the best practice is find a balance in between, one that works for you. Okay, the black in the yellow channel will also amplify the yellow pixels or reduce the yellow pixels. So again, just look at your natural overtone of what you're, the natural tone of what you're trying to portray. Here we're trying to portray happiness, so we are trying to portray as much yellow as we can, because yellow signifies happiness, maybe, but without going overboard with it. Okay, next we go to green. Actually, the cyan in green is not that much, so the difference is still going to be there in terms of warming up or cooling down the image. So for example, if you increase the cyan, it's going to cool down the greens a little bit. But if you take out the cyan, which means you're going to increase the reds within the green, if that makes sense, and it's going to overall increase the warmth of the green pixels. And the magentas, again, magenta goes with green. Okay, so which means that if you take out the magentas, you're just going to be increasing the green pixels. And if you increase the magentas, you're going to be reducing the strength of the green pixels. Okay, but since you're working within the green channel, again, you cannot truly take it out. You're just going to decrease its intensity. So again, you should strive to find a balance. Yellows, again, they're going to bring in blue or take out the blue, and whichever result is going to either warm or make your image, your greens, warmer or cooler. And then the blacks are going to obviously increase the intensity of the green pixels. So the green pixels are going to become greener, like, okay, and if you reduce them, they're going to become lighter. So just strive to find which tone you're going for. Checking back, now you can see, again, we are not done yet, but you can already see the difference. Okay, so this is on, this is off, before and after. And now the cyans. Okay, you can see now in this image, you see a lot of cyans. So for example, if you take the cyan out, you're going to increase the general warmth of the image. I try to think of it in terms of warmth and being cool or warm, because that makes much more sense to me. Okay, so for example, see the cyans here. When you increase the cyans, it's going to cool down the image. Okay, but if you take them out, it's going to increase their warmth a little bit. Okay, so you just again strive to find a balance between, and again, this magenta here is going to cause the cyan pixels. It's going to take out the greens in the cyan pixels, which means that it will make your image cooler, okay, or warmer, like down. Okay, so again, but if you go to the extremes now, if you look here, for example, there is this color crashing of greens here. Okay, so we don't want that. We want to find a balance between them. Okay, so if you go up, you can see this is unrealistic. So you want to find a balance in between, so the shadows just phase into the highlights. Okay, and then the yellows, they will bring in the blues again. So that is before and this is after. Okay, next we go to the blues. We go to the blues. You can see blue, they're everywhere. And again, if you begin with the cyan and take it out, so it will put in reds in the blue pixels, which will cause the image to take on a warm tone. And if you increase the cyans, it will take out the reds, which will bring the image to a colder tone. So just find a point which you want to work with. Same thing with this, bringing them down brings in green in the, if you bring magenta down in the blue channels, it introduces greens within the blues, and that also will cause the image to be warmer or colder. So again, just find a spot that you like. Yellow will just amplify the blues because yellow goes with blue. So if you take out the yellow, the yellows will be very blue. And if you introduce the yellow, then the blues will be less blue. Okay, they'll be warmer or colder, just like that. And then the black is going to amplify in a general tone. Magentas, it's the same thing. The magenta pixels, if you change, for example, now it will be hard for you to see in some cases, as we shall be seeing in future. But if you look in images like down here where there is magenta, okay, if you move them up and down, you'll see that the reds here, for example, if you bring up the magenta, the reds will be like a little bit more red, and then down here it's because they're now introducing green here. The cyans, again, they'll be affecting that area, but not so much. Okay, so again, just try to find the spot that works best for you, and then you can amplify that. Okay, now whites, the whites are like, you can look at them as the highlights, or the brightest pixels, or the whitest pixels in the image. So if, for example, you see that the whites need to cool down a bit, okay, you can decide to maybe, for example, add cyan to the image. Okay, and as you may add cyan, you'll see that they'll become a little bit blue. Or you take down the yellows. So when you take down the yellows, again, it will make a very subtle difference. But yeah, so the magentas, again, if you take down the magentas, it will increase the greens. So if it increases the greens, it will make this color which will kind of produce a warm tone. But then if you bring up the magentas, you'll see that it will take out the greens. Okay, so just find a part that you like most and then go with that. And then the blacks here will just enhance those pixels that you've been affecting. Okay, so again, this is before and that is after. So you can see that already we've added a lot of difference. Okay, and we haven't even reached them, because the neutrals, for example, the neutrals actually normally they affect the entire image, so you have to be very, very subtle in your adjustments with the neutrals. And for this, maybe we can, if for example bring down the black, we increase the black, it's going to just increase the entire image, because the neutral, it's just neutral. And then if you decrease the blacks, that's what will happen. Again, it will look terrible. So you want to find a difference where it just works. Okay, so this is before and this is after. And then the blacks, these are the darkest points. Now this is where I will explain the color theory very well. For example, the blacks, you look at those black points here, like these shadows here, right? Okay, so for example, if we take the cyan out of the black point, okay, it will increase the red, which means these places are going to become totally red, because they're black, right? So you can see that if we take the cyan out, they all become red. And if we bring in all the cyan, right, they'll now become almost cyanic, okay, because now it has taken out all the reds. So again, you just find the difference, or it makes much more sense to you. Let's try magenta now. When you take down magenta, for example, it's green that you'll be increasing. So when we take down magenta, you can see that all the darkest pixels have become green. So, and if you increase the magenta, all the darkest pixels they now want to take on, they have now expelled all the greens, and they now want to take on a magenta like, but because of other color modes that are in, there is a color combination that now results into something different. So you want to just find a balance in between. Yellows, if you take down the yellows, you're going to just increase blues. Okay, so it will become blue. Same thing. So just find the difference where everything just works for you. Okay, so you can see that this is greenish. Okay, so what we can do is we can increase the magentas a bit, and you can see it was there before, and now when we increase, now it has taken out the greens. Now we can have that. Okay, and then the black is going to just enhance those details a little, so just make it a little slight like that, and before and after. All right, so I think by this time you've already gotten something. Let's go to the next picture quickly here. Now this is not so obvious like the one before, but again it's a little bit easy compared to the next one. So again, what we want to do is just double click here and unlock this layer. So when we unlock the layer, what we want to do is just bring in our selective color adjustment layer. Okay, and our selective color adjustment layer will help us now understand, for example, when we begin with the reds, the red pixels are the ones going to be now affected mainly. So whichever pixel has a reddish spot in it will be affected. So taking out the cyan will just increase the red, and bringing the cyan in will reduce the reds in the red pixels. So you can see the difference that's making. So what you want to do is just find a balance between. Okay, and magenta, again, it will take out the magenta will just increase the greens within the red. Okay, so that's why you see that it will take on this yellowish color. So you just again want to find, if you increase the magenta, you'll find that now part of the skin here and the nails will also take on, because they have reddish pixels. So you want to be very, very observant that you don't do that. Okay, just make subtle differences, changes. Again, the yellow here, the yellow is going to affect the yellow in the red channel. It's going to just affect the pixels within the red. Again, if you want to make them warmer, for example, you just increase yellow and they will be a little bit warmer. Okay, just like that. Mind the hands here so that you don't overdo it. So because if you take it too much up, the hands will also be affected. So just put it up at about 15 there. Okay, and then black will just enhance everything, whatever you've been doing. So just by that, this is before and this is after. Okay, so that is only for the red channel. And we go to the yellow now. Yellow is going to be affecting you. You may see those a little bit of yellow pixels in there. So if you take out the cyan, it's going to just increase the red. It's going to make everything very warm, every yellow pixel warmer. If you increase the cyan, it's going to take out the reds and make it cooler, and so which means that your greens will pop out more. But you want to find where because not only these visible greens are the ones being affected, but the entire image where there are green pixels will also be affected. So just find a balance between. And then magenta will also, you can see what it's already doing. So we want to strike a difference where the yellow pixels, the magenta and the yellow pixels is just okay. It's not, it's like I'm mainly looking at his skin color here, so that not too many colors spill over the skin to make it look terrible. So this is before and that is after. Before, after, so it's not so bad. Okay, and then yellows, they will introduce blues when they're removed, or they will take out the blues when they're introduced. Okay, so just understand that and then strike to find a balance. So we need to go for like again a warmer tone, so I'm just increasing that a little bit. When the blacks, we're just going to amplify our entire yellow channel there, and then this will be the before and after. Okay, so taking the cyan out, you'll see what that is doing to the green pixels. Okay, so if you want to increase, you can increase the cyan to like, okay, and then the magenta, we can decrease it or increase it, and you see what difference that it's making. And the yellow, again, when you move it around like that, you'll see that now this is where we are right now, and this just amplifies everything. So before and after. Okay, we go to cyan, same thing. So it's all about trying to figure out exactly what look you're going for, because, and constantly check to see that your colors aren't crashing too much. So this is before and this is after. Okay, so just look that your colors aren't crashing that much and you'll be fine. The blues, if you want to make this image overall tone, like if you want to make it cold or warm, again, these blues are very, very important. But here you may see that there are not many blue pixels that are so visible. So apart from, like, if you look around, like his shirt down there, so if you increase the blues, so you just want to find a striking a difference that makes you feel okay with that. Again, you can see when I adjust the magentas what's happening to his shirt around there. And then the white is generally the highlights or the whitest pixels in the image. So bringing down the cyan or like that, you can actually add like those kind of warm tones you see normally, right? Okay, and the yellows, if you want to bring them up or down, you can do that, and then just, so you can see that it spills if you do that too much, right? Don't overdo it, just go with something that you like. Before, after. Neutrals are very, very sensitive, so they will decrease like the image a little bit. So I just like it there. I'm not going to change too much here, but this is actually normally where the magic happens. So if for example you didn't want to go over most of those things, you can just go into the neutrals channel and you'll achieve a very good result. So this is before and this is after. And finally the blacks, those are the darkest pixels in the image. Okay, you can just increase them a little. You see when you bring them down, this one doesn't give a good look. I'll show you, but when you just increase a little bit, and then you will have your final image here, before and after. So finally we're going for this one. This one has some colors which aren't so visible, which are not so important, but again, so we have the visible colors of green, we have red, we have white, we have so we just want to kind of make this image again a little bit, add more life to it. So just click to unlock the mask, add a selective color adjustment layer, and we begin with the reds, for example. So the reds, when we take out the cyans, again we're going to be increasing the reds. Okay, so that's obvious. okay, by now. So just try to find a balance between magenta is going to be increasing the greens if you take it out. So you see, so it will be increasing the magenta here, increases the greens within the red. So if you wanted to go for this color, maybe that's what you would do, but I need my red in there, so I can just decide to increase my magenta. So, and then the yellows are going to kind of affect the warmth or the temperature of the red channel. So bringing them down will introduce blue, which will give me this kind of cold look, and then bringing them up is just going to increase the yellows, which will give me this kind of warm look, warm. It's going to give me this warm option in the red channels, and the blacks are just going to enhance everything for me. So don't overdo it, so that you don't cause crashing of colors. Just go with something that you love, and that's it. So this will be the before and after. The yellows aren't so visible, but again, if you moved around like this, you will see that in there these fringes, for example, are yellowish, so there are some yellow pixels in there. And if we needed to go for kind of a dreamy look, we want to reduce the warmth of this image, so we take out the yellows. Increasing the greens, for example, will help. So taking out magenta, increasing blue by taking out yellow will help, and enhancing that. Okay. So again, this is before and that's after. So the greens are very, there are many, as you may see. So the cyan within the greens is not so obvious, but any color combination, any pixel combination of those it will show when you begin moving around like that. So you can see, if you take out the cyan, you're going to make the cyan within the green a little bit warmer. Okay, so those pixels will be a little bit warmer. So we take it maybe up like that, or we take it down, and then we have before, after. Okay. So magenta, again, you can see that it's really affecting the greens terribly. Okay. So again, you want to find a balance. I'm just going to leave it there. The yellows, again, you see that they're affecting the greens again, so just find a balance. I'm going to leave it there, and then just enhance that. That's my before and after. We go to the cyans now. Again, moving them around doesn't really show much because there is not too much cyan going on in this image. So the cyans here aren't so many, so we can actually just leave this. Okay. We go to the blues. It's probably the same thing. Okay, so there are no so many visible blues, so we can just kind of move around to see if there is any pixel that we can actually change, but I don't think. Okay, but we can go to the magentas. These ones, again, for some images you won't really find all the colors. Again, that's what I'm saying, but that doesn't stop you from enhancing the available colors and getting the best out of your image. So here we have the whitest parts in the image. So the whitest pixels, you can affect their cyan composition by moving. If you move them up, see, that's terrible. Okay, so you move them somewhere like there. And then the magentas, again, don't move them too much, just somewhere like there. Again, the yellows like there, and then just enhance the entire white pixel thing. So the neutrals, I'm just going to increase the, so that it just gives that. That's all. I normally don't want to go too much. So before and after. Okay, so here you can decide if you want to increase the reds within the image. You can decide to go with that. Okay, so depending on whatever you want, so it doesn't really give a difference. It all goes back to what you prefer. So for example, this is before and this is after. So you can see how much you can do with the neutrals. Neutrals are very strong, so you don't do too much disturbance. So here we can maybe reduce the reds, for example, in the shadows. So by taking up the cyans, okay, we can reduce the reds in the shadows, for example, and there you have the before and after, and that's just the enhancing that we've done to the image. Okay, so again, I request, I'm going to leave it at this. I request that you go and practice more on these colors and try to come up with something that works for you. Try to understand this. It can be a little bit complicated, but once you get the hang of it, it's very easy and very helpful in helping you enhance your everyday photos and make your work even much better. Okay, so with this, I'm going to stop here. So I hope you found value in this video. So just go create, stay awesome, be amazing. Till next time, peace.